Tell us about the space.
Sure. So one of the design principles that we have for our spaces as we build new spaces or renovate them is we want it to feel radically welcoming. That's the phrase that we use so that everybody who comes into this space can easily access what's happening. So one of the great things about this art gallery is it's just, again, an open space. We happen to have an exhibit up right now called When Science Meets Korea. It's about the intersection of science and art, and that's in partnership with the Korean American Artists Association of Washington.
Okay.
And then surrounding this gallery, we've got practice rooms, we've got art studios, a printing studio, and then behind those doors is music performance and just a large space that could be used for events, both for the community and college. Sounds like we've got some construction going on somewhere.
Naturally.
We had a wonderful reception with the Korean American Artists Association, and representative from the consul's office in Seattle came. So it's just a great space to bring the public into.
Who is doing the artwork? Are they students locally, or are some of the art from Korea?
So
South
this
Korea?
exhibit are pretty much working artists, not necessarily students, who identify as Korean American. And then the exhibit will change up at different times, and at different times of the year it features student art. But one of the great things is this becomes a part of the learning for our students, right? So our students are learning in the classrooms that surround this space, and then they're getting to meet professional artists. They're getting to talk to them about their techniques and their vision, and how they built their businesses.
What are some of the other popular programs that you have here at Pierce College?
Sure. Here at this site at Pierce College, Fort Steilacoom, we have dental hygiene, veterinary technology, digital design. One of our digital design faculty members' office is here as we walked by. And just pretty much everything that you can think of. Many of our students are looking to transfer to a 4-year, so they're doing more of a general education degree, but with say a focus in psychology or STEM.
And you mentioned the Rainier building. You have STEM programs there.
We do.
And that was recently built. Is that did you say it was your most recent building?
Not our most recent. Our most recent building is called Glacier, and that opened, oh my goodness, testing my memory, 2021.
Okay.
And that is, that would have been actually another great space to go. That is veterinary technology and dental hygiene. And it's a very bright, airy space, much like this.
Okay. All right. Very good. Hi, I'm Reed Fetters with Tacoma Rising, and today we have a special guest all the way from Pierce College. Not that far, pretty close. Dr. Julie White, Chancellor of Pierce College. Thank you for coming on today.
You're very welcome. I'm really excited to be here.
I'm very excited to have you. I know a little bit about Pierce College, but I'm learning quickly, and I've been very excited about this conversation because I want to know more. And I mentioned we have the sorry, I almost said UWT, but we have the Tacoma Rising Challenge coming up that I just kind of info dumped a lot on you, but I want to learn more about it and see how we can get you guys involved with some of the stuff we're doing as well. So thank you for being on. So let's just kick it off with what's the day of the life as Chancellor of Pierce College? What's your day-to-day role look like?
That is such a hard question to answer because every day is different, but I can give you a sense. One day I might have all internal meetings, meeting with my direct reports, going to faculty meetings, meeting with staff, meeting to move various projects forward. Another day I'll be off campus all day. I'll be in the community. I'll be doing something like this, or I went to the United Way Summit a couple of weeks ago, representing Pierce College and building those relationships. And then, not infrequently, I'm traveling statewide or nationally. And this past year, I had the chance to travel internationally to India to build partnerships, both across all of those sectors. And that is important because Pierce College has got a good thing going on, and we got to make sure that everybody knows what's happening and really leverage partnerships for the benefit of our students and our communities.
Is going off cuff here, just based on that, international students, do Do you have a high percentage of international students?
I wouldn't say high percentage, but we average anywhere from 150 to 250,
Oh, okay.
depending on the year and the conditions. And so we have something called the Center for Global Scholars. And so we've got residence halls that are available for actually both international and domestic students, but intended to foster that collaboration. We have a strong international education program.
Mhm.
We do intensive English for English language learners from other countries. And then we have international students who come and enroll as a Pierce College student to
Mhm.
get their associate's degree, many of them with the hope of then transferring to University of Washington or some other four-year university.
That's really interesting. I did not know that. My oldest brother, he taught conversational English in South Korea for 3 years and Hungary for 2 years, I think. So teaching English, conversational English in some of the other countries, that was something he did for several years, which allowed him to travel and do a
It's
lot
a
of really
great
cool
way to
stuff.
travel.
It really is,
Yeah.
and you just mentioned that, I go, that makes a lot of sense. That's cool. That's very exciting. You've spent most of your it seems that you've spent a lot of your career within the community college realm.
hmm
What got you started with that? Why did you pick that direction?
That's such a great question. So my first job out of college, when I was a high school English teacher, and then I got into the four-year university setting, and I spent quite some time there. And then, reached a point of looking for what's next. And I looked at my local community college, was Monroe Community College in Rochester, New York. And they had a position open. And as a context, I'm from Indiana. And when I was growing up,
Wait. You're from Indiana?
I am
Where in Indiana are you from?
Rushville.
You're from
Uh
Rushville.
huh.
Have you ever heard of Frankfort, Indiana?
Of course.
That's where I'm from.
No way.
I'm a Frankfurt hot dog.
I hardly ever meet anybody out here from
I
Indiana.
can't believe Rushville. That's really
Yeah.
that's so funny. I felt like there was a vibe there when I was like, "Man, now I know why." But
It's
it's so
definitely got a Midwest vibe going
oh,
on.
yes, it's so funny. I did not expect that. I'm sorry, I just
That's okay. No,
like it
it
sounded
often throws people.
well,
It often throws people. I spent most of my adult life in New York State, not New
yeah.
York City, but Syracuse, Rochester
It's
area.
I was gonna ask if you were from New York
Yeah.
because I don't hear an accent,
No.
but I from, a New
Yeah.
York accent,
Yeah.
that I'm familiar with that area, but I was like, "Man, it feels Midwest," but I was like, "I don't know." That's hilarious. That's
Yeah.
so funny. Indiana, well, I'm glad
Yeah.
that, yeah, a
Yeah.
couple
Yeah.
Hoosiers out here. Speaking of
Right.
Hoosiers, how about those Hoosiers? I don't know if you watched the game.
I did not. I missed it.
It's,
Yeah.
I we had some friends in town, and, I'm a Big Ten fan. I grew up in
Yep.
the Big Ten, and I'm way off topic, but I can't ignore this.
Well, no.
We went and watched the game, and, everyone was betting on Ohio State and all with that, and I was like, "I don't know. I feel like IU is just so good." And I will say I've never seen Ohio State put so few points up on the board. They only scored 10 points. And IU was just dominating them from a standpoint that I had not seen before. And I have to say, that was probably one of the most enjoyable games I've seen in a long time.
I'll take a quick digression on that. So my high school girls basketball team were
Mhm.
state champs. And so I'm a huge women's basketball
Yep.
fan.
Yep.
So Seattle Storm is my
Mhm.
team, and
Yeah.
I'm very excited I just really kind of started following them and
Mhm.
really excited for the next season. So
I I gotta say, I like the direction where women's basketball is
yeah.
going, and I think and I don't know a lot about what's going on in social media, but Caitlin Clark and
Mhm.
like the energy she's brought to it, and it is so fun to watch. And I'm glad that it's starting to get
Yeah.
the interest that it's always there. We had when I was in high school, way off topic now. When I was in high school, we had um, the girls, our girls were
Mhm.
phenomenal. Our
Mhm.
guys were phenomenal.
Mhm.
So we always went back and forth to the games. I played football, and the same girls, a lot of them played volleyball. So all year round, there's a lot of support back and forth. And I don't know, I just, I love to see that it's actually taken off.
Me too.
So
Yeah, it's a
anyway,
lot of fun.
I
It's all right.
really pulled off on that one, but that's exciting. I did
Two
not.
Hoosiers, that's
Yeah,
what you gotta
yeah.
expect.
It's so funny. I was not expecting that. I was like, I can't let that go. Anyway, so back to you were
So why
talking
was I
about.
even talking? Oh,
Yeah.
so you may know that Ivy Tech is the
Hmm.
primary community college in Indiana,
Hmm.
and that was not on my radar at all. Though I'm a first generation college student, at the time it was really technically focused, which is
Yeah.
not where my skills lie. I'm a humanities person, so I didn't really know a lot about community colleges
Hmm.
until as a career step, I decided to check out Monroe Community College, and I just walked on to the campus. And for context, I worked at an urban campus, a branch location, and it was just all walks of life, incredibly diverse, and such a student centered um, culture that I just felt like I belonged
Hmm.
immediately. And from there, I ended up, that's when I went back and got my doctorate, and I focused on community college as my area of study. And so it just really catapulted from there. And I just felt like when I walked onto campus, these are my people. This is
Hmm.
where I belong.
Where did you go to school? Did you go to school in Indiana?
I did. I started at DePauw with a W, DePauw
That's where my best
in
friend went.
Greencastle. In
I s-
Greencastle.
Monon Bell, and
Yep.
my oldest brother went to Wabash, and then
Okay,
my best
right
friend
down.
growing up went to
Yep.
DePaul. Several of my friends went to DePaul.
Yep. I actually transferred to Miami University of Ohio.
Yep. Yeah.
Um, DePauw was a challenge, and this gives me some, insight into our students now. I'm a first generation college student,
Hmm.
working class family, working very hard,
Yeah.
um, and just was not in the same kind of social culture that a
Yeah.
lot of folks at DePauw were.
Yeah.
And Miami of Ohio was a lot better fit.
Yeah, they were, I think Miami of Ohio is in the MAC.
Yeah.
I went to Ball State.
Okay.
So, and I
Oh
don't
yeah.
usually
I
talk
know
about
Ball
all
State.
this
Yep.
just because no one,
No one
no
knows
one
what you're
knows.
talking about. I
Yeah,
do.
it's like, and I have, and most of the people I know out here are from this area. So
Mhm.
when you bring up, where you're from, not a lot of people, no one knows about the Frankfurt hot dogs, and they think it's very funny, which
Yes,
in hindsight is
it is.
hilarious. But anyway, so it's always good to
Sure.
get to chat about this, the roots here. So there's a lot of change in higher education. There's been a lot of just developments and things happening. Um, where does Pierce College fit into that, and what are your plans? What do you hope to see Pierce College do,
Mhm.
or just in general the local economics of the South Sound? Where do you see it playing in that, and where do you see Pierce College going?
Sure. So we have a big focus right now on community engagement, and that includes economic development, being a strong workforce partner. Of course, we produce a lot of nurses
Hmm.
and teachers and emergency managers and fire professionals and on and on. And we also have a very strong direct transfer agreement with the public universities. And we know, I was just reading that the Washington Roundtable estimates that 75% of workers over the next 5 to 10 years are going to need some post secondary education, something beyond high school. Could be a certificate, could be
Hmm.
associates, bachelor's, and beyond. But at least 45% of those will be bachelor's and beyond. So, our connection and entry point into a bachelor's degree is really important. A lot of students want to stay close to home when they first start college, or they need to stay close to home. Of course, we have students of all ages
Hmm.
who are already embedded in the community. And so we provide that pathway both through those agreements, and also we have a Central Washington University site located at our campus, so we have lots of entry points into education, and then, of course, into the job market, the labor force, the community. We have recently, we were talking beforehand about the 7 colleges and universities in
Hmm.
Pierce County, and working with Michael Katze at EDB and Katie Condit at Workforce Central.
Hmm.
We brought together all of us
Hmm.
to talk about alignment, collaboration, communication. There is somewhat of a narrative in the greater ether that people don't value higher education. And I honestly have to say, I think that the reality on the ground is very different.
Yeah.
Um, Usually, and I talk to colleagues from across the country, but if you ask them, what do you think of your local community college? It's great. Or,
Hmm.
I mean, because we are embedded in community. So, what I see is really bringing those strands together, Pierce College becoming even more connected to the community. We have, for example, expanded capacity for hosting events so people can come onto our campus and see our facilities. A lot of times, folks, they've never been on a college campus. Again, from my background, my grandparents did not come to my college graduation because they were not comfortable even feeling they didn't feel like they belonged on
Mm.
a college campus. And there are folks who still feel that way because it seems like we're um, not integrated
Hmm.
enough, right? And they've never just had that opportunity or been welcomed. So we've built capacity to welcome folks onto campus, and we're also building capacity with a focus on having some staff really representing us in the community. We have a great partnership, which is really a model with MiCentro, where we have staff from their agency on our campus working with our students. And so we're really hoping to build that out even more. My vision is to have a community engagement center at each college
Hmm.
that would host nonprofits, community based organizations to serve both our students, our employees, and our communities so that there's more of a flow, back and forth. So and then let me just talk also about the connection with EDB, Workforce Central, and the other colleges. We do want to have more communication in a coordinated way
Hmm.
about why it's important to pursue your education. And we are partners, and how we work together to communicate that is going to be really important.
You mentioned that 75% of jobs requiring some kind of higher education.
Mhm.
What is the reasoning behind that? Just out of curiosity. I mean, I feel
Mhm.
like I probably should know this, but
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, it's a great question because I do think people kind of do
mhm.
debate that. And it's not to say people can't be successful, right? We have
Oh yeah,
all
yeah,
kinds of
right,
examples
right.
of that, right? Um, but there are certain knowledges and skills that are hard to just kind of pick up,
Yeah.
you know, and we're seeing increasing specialization in the workforce. So people need really these specific skills for this specific job. That's often the case in sort of the more technical industries. And what we continue to hear from the broader workforce is, people used to call them soft skills. I don't like that. They're not, they're hard skills. The durable skills I've heard, essential skills, which
Hmm.
is, I think, the phrase I've landed on, which are communication, collaboration, critical thinking and having more of an opportunity to really develop those skills, which is exactly what we provide in our general education programs and all of our programs, is really critical to being successful in the workforce. And, AI or not, those are going
Hmm.
to be required skills. And I think increasingly so
I
as
agree.
the
Yeah.
workforce changes.
You said to me, the magic word AI
Hmm.
and the advancements. And I had a conversation with the CEO of Light Curve recently,
Hmm.
and you know, should we, not should we, are they worried about what AI will do? He said no, and I agree. I think AI is a tool. If you learn to use it, um, I think it's going to make it will make people better, more efficient, and will be help them if they're using it in the right way.
Hmm.
And if they're wanting to accomplish more, I feel like it's a tool that you can achieve that.
Hmm.
And so I think AI is really interesting, and education around AI alone is going to be something that's definitely necessary. And higher education, I'm a huge supporter of higher education. Um, I will say I went to school for architecture. I learned way more in the field around the technical side of that because that's really you have to be in the office in the field to do those things. However, the main piece that I learned in school was thinking outside of the box,
Hmm.
critical thinking. That is the most important tool that I've ever, or just being able to do that is
Mhm.
allowed me to do way more outside of whether it's architecture or other things. And higher education to me serves many purposes. Learning how to make friends and
Mhm.
going out and just being able to connect with people, presenting presentations, speaking to public speaking, just having that environment, that learning environment, sets you up for much higher success. And like you said, there will be people that pick other directions, trades, military, entrepreneurship that maybe they don't go to school, and that's okay. And that's there's a lot of avenues, but I think what's really critical is knowing that higher education serves a bigger principle than just going to get a degree and thinking that you need that to go on. If you really use it, there's so many opportunities to develop. And I thought mine was thinking outside the box. I
Yeah.
always talk about that.
Yeah, yeah. And you reminded me, we've just opened in the past year two new buildings, one at each of our colleges. And we had students who had graduated from our construction management
Mhm.
program who then had done their internship with those firms. And so, again, combining the in the classroom, the out of the classroom learning, and their excitement to see the building open,
Mhm.
was that's what it's all about. Yeah.
I agree, and we talked about briefly about the challenge that we do every April, and if I went back and I've always wanted to do this, and this is why I actually started the challenge was that I thought if I go back and if I were to teach a studio in architecture, it would be a year program. The first semester we'd focus on developing a project, and then when they presented that project in December, I don't know what the semesters are like anymore, but I assume
Sure.
it used to be December, um, but they would basically present it, and then at the end, I would cut their budget by 30%, and the next semester would be, how do you make that work?
Yes.
Come back
That's
and
very
design.
realistic.
Yeah, and it's like, but you get, and it's one of those that it's understanding that, like when I was in school, there was no budgets, there was not, you got to design anything, which I thought was cool because it's
Mhm,
creativity.
mhm,
But I think having a semester like that or a year like that, it may not be as fun, but it's getting the real world piece in there
mhm,
involved. And I've talked to Michael Katze about this a lot too. Is that how do you blend business and school together and
mhm.
elements that they get little pieces of why they're there and what they're doing, and that's why we started the challenge, and hopefully that grows. But no, I'm a huge fan of higher education. So rising cost of things outside. How do you guys navigate the expenses? How do you work with the students on that?
Yeah, that's a great question and a real challenge because the reality of it is, um, our students, are amazing, and what often trips them up are precisely those quote out of classroom
Hmm.
challenges, right? So a few things. We have a basic needs department at our college, at both
Hmm.
colleges, and we have staff who are navigators to help students access resources available to them both on campus and in the community. We've particularly done quite a bit around food insecurity and food access. We partnered with Good Roots Northwest to bring 24 hours, 24/7 lockers onto Pierce College Puyallup. So both students and community members can shop on the app of the food that they need. The food is delivered to the locker, which is refrigerated, and then they can pick it up. So um, no stigma, low barrier access. Our student governments associations are also incredible. They have student hygiene and food pantries for quick snacks, students that have needs. And then we also have the Nourish mobile food pantry that comes to our campus once a week. So those are some things we've done around food access. Our foundation, which is our fundraising organization that we're affiliated with, also provides emergency grants, and we've had very generous donors who've given grants for students. Uh, the saying in the community college world goes that many of our students are one flat tire away from dropping out simply because they lose their
Yep.
transportation. They lose their way to go to work, whatever the case may be. And So the emergency grants meet those kind of emergent needs around housing, food, healthcare, transportation, and so on. So we're working really hard to have an infrastructure of support to connect students again, both on campus and to the incredible community resources that exist here in Pierce County.
Someone had mentioned to me about uh, food banks in Pierce County, and I think it was the Puyallup area,
Hmm.
which would make a lot of sense here, that they had changed the idea of how food banks work. And they mentioned that it's 24/7 now, and the food gets delivered to the lockers, which
Right.
it sounds like
Yep.
is kind of what you're talking about there.
Yeah, and Good Roots Northwest has really been a pioneer, so I want to give them credit and encourage everybody to check them out. They have really pioneered this approach at bringing in technology to solve important human needs.
And I'm pretty sure that was the name that was associated with that. And I thought it was really interesting.
Yeah.
The results were that less food was being utilized or picked up, and it was people felt more comfortable in the short term because they felt like it was available when they needed it. So probably less food waste and some other things. So I thought that was really very creative,
Yeah,
and
Stacy Krinich is their executive director, and again,
that's the
very,
name.
very
Yes,
innovative.
yes.
And I know she's also got partnerships with local farms,
Hmm.
and so that there's less waste of what they're doing and that connection to the local community.
If you could change any element in the higher education based on things that you're seeing, what you've done at Pierce College, what would it be and why?
Um, the financial aid system.
Yeah.
Uh, it's confusing. It's got conflicting rules and regulations. It's got a bazillion rules and
Hmm.
regulations. Um, it takes a large staff to ensure that we're both getting the money to the students and complying with all of these numerous rules and regulations. And, obviously that's important and that's what we need to do, but we need to simplify it for students. We need to simplify it for financial aid folks at the colleges so that we can really tailor the financial aid packages to student individual circumstances. Because of the myriad of conflicting and confusing policies, both I would say, especially federally, Washington State is really pretty strong in state financial aid, but there are still conflicts between state and federal. Then it just is so much to untangle, and we need to make it so much easier to access because this is aid that, as a society, we have decided, as you and I've been talking, that further education is useful to
Hmm.
individuals and to the betterment of our communities. And making that difficult to access is a barrier to achieving that goal.
Well, education needs to be approachable and accessible.
Exactly.
And there was you mentioned this earlier about your grandparents. I think it was your grandparents that
Yep.
didn't feel comfortable.
Hmm.
And unfortunately, everyone should be comfortable.
That's
And
right.
it doesn't matter what campus you walk on to, the elite mindset or
Hmm.
whatever that is.
Hmm.
It's just yeah, that there's no place in education. And I love what you guys are doing. What on the funding side,
Hmm.
this is a random question.
Sure.
Where does Pierce College get funding, and what could help with that could maybe make it easier for you guys to be more approachable?
Sure. So a good chunk of our funding is allocated by the state,
Hmm.
probably about 40%. And, you know, that is a challenge because our state is funding lots of important things.
Hmm.
So we have lots of conversations with state legislators about what we're doing and why it is so important. And, we think we're the solution to a lot of the problems that the
Hmm.
state is funding. Get people better educated, they get better jobs, they have more capacity to contribute to their communities and be engaged and volunteer and be a philanthropist and all of those things. Build, families that have the resources that they need. So that is a big chunk of it. We also get funds through student tuition, and much of that is paid for through financial aid. About Let's see. I hate my team will be like, don't quote a statistic that's wrong. So I'm trying to, I want to say roughly half of our students are on some form of financial aid.
Mhm.
Um, and so that accounts for some of that tuition. We are limited in how much we can raise tuition, and we, of course, don't want to raise
Right.
tuition. Um, and we are on pretty much of a shoestring budget. We do receive some federal funding through grants. Um, some of that is precarious and not available as much as it has been in the past at the moment. So that's really it. I We have some smaller grants from foundations, and one of the goals of my job has been to increase our non-governmental sources of revenue so that we have a little bit more diversification. That takes time to build those relationships. We've had some good things come out of that, but our infrastructure is still really funded primarily by the state and then by tuition.
Sounds like I don't know a lot about how state schools get their funding, but I know there's usually a lot of donors and
Mm-hmm.
folks. Do
Mm-hmm.
you have donors that come back from graduates that
Mm-hmm.
come back? Do you have
Mm-hmm.
that as well that comes in? Is that a
We do, but one of the things that we find is that alum are more likely to have that relationship with their four-year school
got it?
or
Yeah.
beyond. And we're working to strengthen that
Hmm.
connection for sure. We had an incredible dinner last spring where we honored distinguished alumni and brought folks back, scientists working to cure, breast
Oh,
cancer. I mean,
yeah.
just folks doing incredible things. A local teacher who is, teacher of the year.
Hmm.
So um, we know that our alumni are out there and they're doing incredible things. And part of our work is to maintain those ties with them
Hmm.
more strongly. We do have a wonderful foundation, and their focus has been primarily on emergency grants and scholarships. They've done some capital campaigns, and we're in conversation right now about launching the next phase of what a capital campaign would look like, and they're ready to go. So anybody who's interested in being a part of that, let me know.
Very good. Okay. Last question.
Hmm.
What piece of advice or message would you like either a student or one of your faculty
Hmm.
to carry on when they leave Pierce College?
So this is going to sound cliche, but stay with me. And it really is to show up the best you can every day. But I don't mean that in like Brene Brown calls it hustling for your worthiness, or,
Hmm.
I don't mean it in the grind kind of way. I mean it in the be aware of yourself,
Hmm.
be aware of what you need and how you need to stay grounded and attend to that, because then you show up better
Yeah.
in your community. And the second thing I would say, and I have to remind myself of this constantly because I'm human, but when you're frustrated with the human, look at the root cause of the behavior.
Hmm.
Doesn't mean you don't hold accountability, right? We all make mistakes and we all have to have accountability for that. And there are systems that are creating barriers. And if I had to sum up our work at Pierce College, it is certainly to maintain that one on one relationship with every student employee as best as possible. And it's to look at the systems that are creating the conditions for the behavior, the challenge, whatever is presenting, so that we can get to the root cause. Because I think if you combine all of that, that's a pretty good recipe for helping everybody to reach their fullest potential.
I love that. I think showing up, I mean, it's a great life lesson right there. And it's hard to do. I
It
mean,
is.
you have to, I, I found that I probably don't know why I'm sharing this, but this is my kind of
Hmm.
my day. If I want to really show up with my best self, and I've got to wake up at 5 a.m., I have to work out at some level, do something active in the morning, coffee, have my first meeting, and get my big meeting done for the day.
Hmm.
And then if I can do that and make my bed, I have to make my bed every morning. Um, there are certain things that I feel like that gets me going, and if I don't do that, if I say I'm too tired, I don't want to work out, then my day is just, I know I'm not going to show up. And it's routine. And I think it's just that mental. I don't know. You have to stay committed. It's a committed just routine of some. For me, it's routine to get
Mhm.
in there because my day is crazy. Every day I come in, it's different. But if I can get that base going, I feel much better, and I feel like I'm showing up. Because if I don't, I'm not. I know I'm just. If I'm not my best self, no one's gonna feel the same way, and they're gonna, I don't want to say avoid me, but you know what
Sure.
I mean? It's like
Yeah.
it's putting something on them that they don't need.
Right.
And I think that's in, and I don't know if that's exactly
Yeah,
where you're
no.
going, but
That's
that's what
part of
resonated
it.
to me is
Yeah,
that, like,
that's part of it that
I think it was much deeper what you were saying, but I
sure,
was just like,
yeah.
I was
Yeah.
reflecting on that.
And I want to acknowledge that not every season of life is that easy.
Yeah.
And depending on again your life circumstances, it's really hard.
Yeah.
So, where can you find that moment, of that grounding? And some people find it in faith, some people
Yeah.
find it in routine, in exercise,
Mm-hmm.
all of the above, community, right? And just showing up with a presence
Yeah.
for people. And sometimes that means, I have to go. I read a quote actually that somebody posted that their 5-year-old said, and the parent asked if he wanted to go out for dinner, and he said, "I've been in the big world all day, and now I need to be in a tiny space." I
Yeah.
thought that was so great
Yeah.
because sometimes I need to be in a
Yeah.
tiny space,
Mm-hmm.
in order to have that rest and
Yeah.
rejuvenation, right? Um, so just attending to all that. And again, I don't want to, I feel like this can kind of veer into individualistic self-care, and
Mm-hmm.
so that is a piece of it,
Oh,
but
yeah.
it's
Yeah.
also setting the conditions for human flourishing,
Mm-hmm.
and we have a responsibility to do that as a community by
Agreed.
making sure that everybody has access to the things that they need, whether it's those basic needs,
Mm-hmm.
as well as education and
Yeah.
a chance to better their lives.
Yeah. I agree. I love that. Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
So this was fantastic. I've learned so much about you, and I'm so excited that you're from Indiana. That's
We're
some of the.
bonded.
Oh my gosh, that is
I
so
love it.
exciting.
It's so
That-
unusual.
that threw me off in a really good way, and I'm just, I don't know. There's something about, I don't know. I miss talking with people from Indiana. Not that I don't
It's a
like people
shared
from there.
culture.
It
Yep.
is. It's just,
Yep.
I don't know. There's so many things like we can relate on that others can't, and I always joke around. Do you know the Pizza King? Have you ever heard of Pizza
Oh,
King?
absolutely.
Yeah, it's like most people. I lived in Charleston, South Carolina for several years, and we met a group of teachers actually that moved down kind of together, and all from Indiana, from Fort Wayne,
Oh, yep.
and we connected immediately,
Yeah.
and we've still friends today. But we used to, like, I remember we ordered Pizza King
My gosh,
from
we had
Indiana.
one in
Yeah,
Rushville.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's just, but that's just a
And it was
silly
a
thing.
place you hung out.
Yes,
Pizza King.
it was much more than pizza. But anyway, that's an example I've used over the years when you kind of meet someone and you're like, hey, do you remember Pizza King? Which is so silly, but it was anyway. But thank you for
Yeah.
joining me today.
Thank you
I
for
really,
having me.
oh my gosh, it's a pleasure. This is great, and I'm looking forward to our event on February 19th.
Yes.
We called it, the new name is The Pitch.
Okay.
But we couldn't call it Shark Tank, but it's Shark Tank style.
I
But
understand.
it's really excited.
I'm very excited. That will be fun.
If you have any businesses, young businesses, any business owners at Pierce College, they're welcome to come. And
Sounds good.
but thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
All right.